Hi everyone. In this video we're going to be looking at the 6 main things to think about at the end of a term on Tapestry. So we're going to be looking at checking your summative assessments, checking your tracking screens, looking at reports, we're going to look at how to export journals, transfer children and amend any staff that are on your account. So first things first, let's look at the summative assessment screens. Now you can find that by going to your tracking tab at the top here. So if you click on that, you'll see the snapshots, make sure you're in EYFS here, snapshots, summative assessment. Now you can either go individual or group. Let's start with individual. This is going to show you the attainment of certain children. So let's look at one here. Let's look at Abby. Here's the summative assessment screen. So from here, you can see in all the aspects, in all the statements, where Abby is for each age band, each refinement. Now, these age bands and refinements are an average of all the assessments that you've made in this term. This little icon here, this little pencil icon, means that it's been manually overridden. Now, you can do that to any of these on this screen, manually override them. So if you think, I don't quite agree with this age band or this refinement, you can change that just by clicking on the drop down, selecting a new one, and then clicking save, and that will update immediately. Now you can see this has been overridden by me today. If you wanted to see all of the observations that contributed to this particular age band and refinement, you can use this button here, show details. That will bring up a list of what's happened. So this one has been overridden by Emily on the 16th of October. That's how we got that statement there. This one that we've just changed was me today. The other screen on the summative assessment screen is the group screen. That looks like this. Now, this shows you your entire class or group, period by period. So in this one, we're in autumn 2. Let's just switch over to autumn 1 again, and we'll see what that looks like. So here's the whole group of children, all of the areas here at the top, and all of their summative assessment data here. Now you can click on each of these and it will give you the same information as it did when we did the show details button earlier. It'll tell you all of the contributing factors to this score here. So that's the group screen. It's a really good screen to get a nice overview of the whole group there. Okay, the next screen we're going to look at is the earliest and latest age bands screen. So you'll find that again in your tracking tab. Here it is. Let's look at individual view first. This is a really good screen to analyze gaps. So what it's going to do is it will show you the most recent, as long as you're on latest assessments here, you can change that if you want to. But latest assessments is going to show you the most recent summative assessment score for that child. Okay, so if we look at Abby's here, we can see the most recent observation or assessment that she had for making relationships was autumn 2. She was assessed in 40 to 60 plus. She was assessed developing. It was a manual override by me. It was that one I just did earlier. Show details, that will tell us there. It's also got all the other ones that she had here. So here's a list of the observations that were made for that area. And that's the manual override that we just did earlier. So that's the most recent one. That's why it's showing as this. This is a good one for gaps because we can see here self-confidence and self-awareness. The last time Abby was assessed in this was autumn term 1. So nothing, we've had nothing this term, so that could be a gap there. Again, you can have a look at that, these details here. That'll help you work out maybe we need to do something in that area. Really good one for gaps. Similarly to your summative assessment screen, you've got a group screen for this one. It looks very similar to the summative assessment screen like this, just showing you all the children here, and you can also click on any of the assessments and see all the contributing observations or manual overrides, whatever it might be. It's also got this pencil icon to show if it is a manual override or not, and it's got the emerging, developing, secure signs next to it, so you know which refinement you're in as well. The third screen we're going to look at is the age band tracker. So same place, we'll go to tracking at the top there. Age band tracker is here. You've got the group view, so let's have a look at the group view. Now, you've got loads of filters here. which you can use to make it more specific to you. I'm just going to select my 2019 cohort here, but you can do it by group, key person, gender, pupil premium, all that stuff. So this is going to show you two important things. It's going to show you where each child is per term, and it's going to show you the percentage of children in each bracket. So let's have a look here. If we look at Poppy, if we want to see a specific child, all you have to do is hover over the name. So if we hover over Poppy here, we can see her baseline was 8 to 20 band for making relationships. We can then see Poppy's steadily increased that as we go spring, 2015, 16, summer, all the way up, and you can scroll along here and see that that trend carries on. So she's going up and up and up. So it's a good way of seeing that progress. The percentages are the percentage of all the children in these filters, that all of my 2019 cohort, that are in that specific band at that specific time. So for an example here, we can see 25% of children in summer 2 of 2018-19 were secure in the 1350 band for making relationships. So you can, there's a whole load of data you can see here. Obviously, if you scroll down, you get the other areas here: self-confidence, self-awareness. There's everything you might want to see in this band. It's a really good one for getting a good overview of your entire cohort, class, key group, whatever it might be. So the last tracking screen we're going to look at is called the performance standard screen. You can see it here. As with a lot of the other ones, we've got individual, we've got group view. Let's look at individual view first. So this one is a good one for seeing, comparing against targets. So what you can do here is you set your period. Let's choose autumn 1. We'll have a look at Abby's data again. And this box here is where you can choose your target. So if you think Abby should be working at 30 to 50 developing in all areas, this is what it's going to show you. It's going to use the summative assessment data for Abby, and it's going to compare those two. So we've got here making relationships. She's working at 40 to 60 plus, emerging. The blue color coding says that she's above. So for this target, 30 to 50, she's working above that. And you can see that is true for all of the statements here. If we change the target to 40 to 60 plus, you can see she's now below, because we've said 40 to 60 developing. This is 40 to 60 emerging. So it depends what kind of target you want, but it's a really clear way of seeing if they're on target for what you think they should be. Just like all the others, we can do the same for the group screen. Selecting those periods again. Here's our targets. Let's do 30 to 50 developing. We'll do all areas, and these filters similarly to the other screen. Let's have a look at our 2019 cohort here, and there we go. So all of our children in our 2019 cohort, the color coding is the same. Blues are above, greens are at, reds are below. So a really clear way to get a good overview of your entire group, where they're at for this target. So now we've had a look at the tracking screens, let's look at something else. We're going to look at reports now. So to access your reports, you'll need to go to the Children's tab up here, and then pick a child who you want to do a report for, or to see the reports, and click their username. You'll get this little drop-down menu here, and you'll see a button that says reports. Let's click on that. So to view any reports that are already there, all you have to do is click on them. Let's just click on this one. I'll show you an example of what they look like here. You've got the child's data, date of birth, how old they are, when this report happened, and then here it's broken down into the areas, and it gives you their data there. It gives you their next steps, which are automatically generated, and then at the bottom there is a space for any comments. If you wanted to do a new report, you need to be back in this main screen here and click this blue button that says new report, and that'll take you to a blank one. Now what you have to do is give it a title. You cannot save the report without having a title. That's the only thing you need in order to save it. So make sure you do a title first. Everything else, if we scroll down here, all this information will be put in for you, the date of birth. You can also toggle whether you want each section to appear in the report by using this button here. So if you don't want the staff to appear, just unclick that one, or Click it back on if you want it to appear. And you can write any of this information in here, attendees, who's at the meeting, key person, all of that. All of this data here, the age bands, the refinements for each area, that's going to be filled in already for you. That's going to be taken from the summative assessment screen. Now, you can manually override this here if you want to change it for the report. Just keep in mind, it won't change the summative assessment screen. It will only change on this report. If you were to change it on the summative assessment screen, it would then change it on the report, but not the other way around. So if you disagreed with this age band for whatever reason, you could then change it on here, and it would update on here. You can look at the observations that have contributed to this age band, a bit like you can on the summative assessment screen with that show details button. That will show you all of the assessments and observations that happened for that age band there. So once you're happy with all of this, you've got the next steps, you've got all of that data in there, any staff notes if you wanted to have that in. You scroll down to the bottom here and you'll see Save Report. Another thing you can do before that, you can upload any supporting evidence if you have any, Word documents, PDFs, any of that stuff if you need to, by just clicking this Browse button here and then uploading. If it's all good, Save Report, and you'll be taken to a copy of it here. This is what it looks like now. It's all finished. If you're happy with that, you can go back to the main screen. Now, here's the report I just made. You'll notice some of these reports have this little icon here, this little eye. This means that it's been made available for relatives to see. It says that there if you hover over it. Now, if you want to do that, if you want to make a relative be able to see a report, all you have to do is use this cog menu here, this drop down, and then press Allow Relative Access. That will bring up the little icon. Now relatives can see. So any relatives that are linked to this child can now log on to Tapestry, download that report if they need to. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is exporting the journals. Now to do that, first thing we'll need to do is go to Control Panel. You're then going to go to Manage Children. Now you can do this one of two ways. You can do it individually or you can do it in bulk. If you're doing individual, you can just use the cog menu here and you'll see Export Journal to PDF. If you're doing bulk, more than one child, then you can use the tick boxes here and you'll see a drop-down box that comes at the bottom there and you can do Export Journals as PDFs. Now let's just do this one here and I'll show you what it looks like. You'll have lots of options here depending on how you want your PDF journal to look like. So all you need to do is fill out these details on this page and then click the Submit button at the bottom. This will then tell you it's queued because it's generating. You'll be able to see this in your download section. So if you click that button and you'll be taken here and this is where they will be generated, ready for download with this button here when it's done. A really handy thing on this page is it tells you who's downloaded or who can download this journal here. So you can see here, Alan Johnson cannot download. This will be a relative of Abby Johnson, and it says here Alan Johnson has not downloaded the file. It's because they can't yet. You can change that directly from here. Are you sure you want to enable downloads for Alan Johnson? Okay, there we go. Now they can download it, so you can see easily who's accessed the journal and who can access the journal. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is transferring children. So you might have some children moving to another setting and you need to transfer their profiles to another Tapestry user. So Control Panel, let's go there and you've got Transfer Children here. Now you'll see two boxes, Send a Transfer and Receive a Transfer. If you've already done this process a couple of times, you might have previous transfers here as well. That's just ones that you've already done. Let's not worry about those for now. Sending a child to another setting, let's do this. Click this button here. What we have to do is select the child that you're sending. Let's send Abby. That's done, and you can do this, you can do multiple children as well, you can do as many as you need to. Important box here, relatives, include relatives. If you tick this box, the relatives that are attached to these children, their accounts will also go with them. Now it's important to note, when that happens, those relative accounts are made inactive on the new account. So the receiving setting is going to have to reactivate those ones. This is important if you're receiving children's profiles and their relatives come along. They will be inactive by default, so just remember to reactivate them when you're ready. Observations here. This is the only one that will be made default, include photos and videos. You then have to decide if you want to do group observations, any unapproved observations, or staff-only observations. If you want all those sent across as well, then you'll need to tick these boxes here. Snapshots, this will be your manual overrides for your summative assessment. So if you click this, the summative assessment screen will go with all of your manual overrides in there as well. If you don't click this, it will just do the average for all the observations that you've made, because they'll be sent across anyway. Last one, reports. Any reports that you've made for that child that are linked to the profile, if you want those to go as well, click that one and then start transfer. This is just going to give you a rundown of what you're transferring, how many children, how many observations, etc. Start transfer. The transfer has been started. We can keep track of its progress. Click here. That's going to take us to current transfers. Now you can see this one that we've just started is in progress. It's yet to be claimed. So the receiving setting is going to have to go in here and do the claim, and then that will move along. The last thing we're going to look at is making any changes to your staff. Now, as usual, control panel, and you've got manage staff over here on the left. Let's click on here. Here you'll see a list of all your staff members as well as their status. So we've got active ones here as well as their current profile. So this is PIN only. Here's a manager. If you need to make any changes, so maybe some staff members have left and you need to revoke their access, or they've moved up a year and they no longer use Tapestry, whatever it is, you can do so from the cog menu here. Let's just look at making an active. So making an active and deleting works the same way as when you do it for children. Making an active makes them not being able to log on. They can't log on, they can't reset their password, anything like that. But if they're inactive, you can reactivate them at any point. So let's have a look at this. Becky is currently active. Are you sure you want to make them inactive? Yes, let's deactivate. It says they can't reset their password, access Tapestry, deactivate, and it will say here now as their status inactive. So Becky can no longer log on. However, if I need to reactivate her, really easy, just cog menu there, and you'll see make active. Again, activate, and she's back to being active. Simple as that. Very similarly, if you want to do delete, cog menu, delete. This works in the same way. You've got 90 days to restore this profile. If this was an accident, you accidentally deleted them, or you delete them and then you need to bring them back for whatever reason, you've got 90 days in order to do that. After the 90 days, they will be deleted from the account for good. Okay, so it'll give you a little timer here. Deletion will begin after 89 days. If you want to revert that process, again, just use that cog menu and then make active, restore to active, and they're back. That 90 days has now gone. They're back to being active. So that's it, everyone. I hope you found this video useful. A few things to check out just at the end of term on Tapestry. Have a really relaxing break.